Hi, everyone. Welcome to Leading Questions. My name is Kayla Theeuwen.
And I'm Megan Ma, and we're partners at WeirFoulds. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, welcome. Leading Questions is a web series where we answer some of your burning questions about law, business development, and professional development. Today, we have another special edition for all of you students who are participating in the recruitment process for summer law student positions.
With in-firm interviews around the corner, we wanted to answer some of your burning questions about how to prepare for the in-firm interview process. In this episode, we're joined by three of WeirFoulds' current articling students, Taiwo Onabolu, Shadé Edwards, and Jordan Crocker, who will share some of their tips, strategies, and things that they wished that they knew to prepare for in-firm call day. Just as a quick disclaimer, the tips and strategies that you're about to hear are personal to us. There are no hard and fast rules or formulas for success for this in-firm process, but these are suggestions that Taiwo, Shadé, and Jordan have come up with based on their own experiences.
So Jordan, we'll start with you. What's something you wish you knew before in-firm call day?
I think it's just the logistics and how fast it goes. But call day, we say call day, it's actually 10 minutes, about that, or at least that was my experience with it, starting right at 8 minutes and 30 seconds. And when we say it's only 10 minutes and you may or may not have multiple firms calling you, they call at the same time. So one thing I didn't have on my phone, which I would definitely recommend everyone to actually have and set up. If you don't, I had to set one up, is to have a voicemail, because firms will call you and then you're able to call back, or sometimes they will call you again and you may still not be available because you're too busy scheduling and all that. I would say try not to worry about if there's multiple firms calling you. Just stick with the one that you are scheduling and worry about that right now, and then get to the other ones later. The firm will want to reach you, so it's not as if your place goes anywhere. That you'll be able to get back to them at some point, but it is 10 minutes. So make sure you're also like ready and alive at 8 a.m. No joke for sure.
Make sure your phone is ready and alive and charged.
Oh,
also,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, make sure it's charged. Yeah, big one to remember.
Super helpful. Taiwo, we're going to move on to you. What is something that you wish that you knew before in-firm call day?
For me, I guess that would be in regards to scheduling the firms that are calling you. So you will probably know that firms do give you an intent to call before. So in that, try and schedule the times where you want to put your firms. Because most firms do have a 2-hour time block for the interviews, schedule it so that you know where the firms are going to be. And as Jordan already said, you may get a call while you're already speaking to a firm. So ensure that you have a backup plan for all of those as well. And on top of the voicemail thing, make sure your voicemail is professional as well.
Yeah, you don't want to have some very informal greeting when, your future employer maybe is calling. The other thing, just going back to the point that you made about the scheduling blocks, I think there are at least, this is going back a few years ago, but some firms did schedule on the half hour. So you just want to make sure that you're aware of that so that you've got enough time in between interviews and you're not getting any overlap once you finish call day and everything is scheduled.
Great, thanks, Taiwo. And what about you, Shadé? What are some things that you wish you knew before in-firm call day?
Some core tips or things that were not in my purview that I wish I knew that I now know, having completed the process, is that it is a 10-minute window per se, but if you are applying to firms that are recruiting during the OCI process but are not doing the formal OCI recruitment, they may call you any point in time throughout that day. Government agencies as well at times call outside of the 10-minute window. So if you can, keep your phone on you, keep it on loud, and be prepared to answer your phone should a call come in, let's say 8:50, 9 a.m., or anytime thereafter. I would add to that by saying it is best to put some gaps in between your interviews. One core tip is that sometimes firms may ask you to stay back and meet a couple other people. So if you do have your interviews back to back, you won't be able to take that opportunity up. So keep that into consideration in the forefront of your mind. As well, you also might want a little even 10 to 15-minute buffer to prepare for your next interview should you complete one. So think about that, stretch your legs, remind yourself what firm you're talking to, you have that few minutes to kind of read up on them. And for that, outside of what my colleagues have already mentioned, I would say is two things I wish I had known.
Those are some great tips about scheduling. And, we hear a lot about signaling or, trying to book those prime windows. I don't know about you guys, but I wouldn't read too much into that. I think things are so dynamic during those interview days, and things do change. The firm that you might have thought was your first choice may actually be your last choice by the end of those days. So I wouldn't put too much stock into getting that prime, first slot in the first day. And then, like Shadé was saying, try to leave some time open in day 2 if you can, in case you're called back for another interview at a firm.
Yeah, I think now that these interviews are taking place on Zoom and you're not having to physically travel from firm to firm like Megan and I would have had to do pre-COVID, it's easy to think that you can just get so much into one day, but you do have to think about how the day can unfold, and you never know what's going to come up. So you've definitely got to keep that in mind, because there are only so many hours in interview day, and you only have so much energy on interview day to sort of be at the top of your game for every interview. So Jordan, anything else that you wish that you knew about scheduling?
Yeah, I mean, I guess just to add on to, the signaling aspect, a lot of thought goes into that signaling process, but you might get into that day and the firm, maybe it's at 8:09 and you just haven't been able to reach that firm and they only have the one slot available. And it's maybe not in your preordained time, or the firm wants to schedule you somewhere, and that's maybe not necessarily where you had in the plan. I think that goes back to Taiwo, just having that backup. I think that's super important. But I think the most important element of just scheduling on day 1 is that there's no bad time, right? Like we were saying, the firms don't read in necessarily as much because call day is so hectic. We all understand that. But the only bad time to schedule an interview is when you're not going to be engaged at the end of the day. If you know you don't operate well in the morning, or you don't operate well at that 4 p.m. slot, don't schedule a firm at that point, or maybe a firm that you maybe don't think as highly of, but you still want to see if there's an opportunity there, because like you said, things can change. So just remember that it's so dependent on you, and do the best thing that's going to work for you in those time slots. That's what I would remember. Because there's only so many times you can say, tell me about yourself, for the 20th time in a row, where it doesn't sound canned, and you don't want it to sound canned for firms that you really, really care about and had a good connection during OCIs.
Makes a lot of sense to me. So that was a lot that you guys suggested for in-firm call day scheduling and all of that. And that in and of itself can create some stress for whoever is watching this. But I think the point is that you should just sort of understand what might be coming for you on call day, so that you can be prepared to adapt to it. So thank you, all 3 of you, Taiwo, Shadé, and Jordan, for sharing all of your tips and your experiences. Make sure, for those of you watching, to check out the rest of this mini-series. We have 2 other videos where our current articling students are providing tips for post-OCI logistics, post-in-firm logistics, and how to be a successful summer student.
And if you have other questions or topics that you'd like us to address in the future, please email us at leadingquestions@weirfolds.com. All the best in the interview process, and see you all next time.